Each day is filled with anticipation as we are getting closer to the meeting that many hope could lead to a ceasefire. But as the event nears, there is no confirmation of Zelensky joining Trump and Putin. European leaders want Ukraine and Europe to be included in these discussions. After all, how could there be peace without Ukraine's voice being heard loud and clear? Iuliia Osmolovska, director of Kyiv Office at GLOBSEC, joins me now to search for these answers together. Good evening and thank you for joining.
Good evening. Thank you.
So we have a meeting that took place. US Vice President J.D. Vance and UK Foreign Secretary David Lammy have hosted a meeting of security officials near London to discuss the meeting, which is supposed to take place next Friday. The meeting was called at the request of the US. Could you tell us what are the opinions of that meeting in the UK in Kyiv? What are the takeaways? Are Ukrainians disillusioned about yet another meeting taking place, or there is actually some hope?
As basically, this meeting that you're referring to is part in the long chain of very intense diplomatic efforts that we've been observing this week, and next week will continue. So starting with this visit of Special Envoy Vitkov to Russia, then talks of Trump with European leaders plus Zelensky on the results of that. Then there were talks of the European top security officials with Vitkov to clarify some of the statements, because there have been some controversy about what actually had been delivered as a Russian position. Then the meeting that you mentioned with the participation of the DG Vance, and also the statement of the European leaders. They just came out recently, plus the forthcoming meeting at the level of foreign ministers of the European states next week. So we see a lot of very intense communication and diplomatic channeling, which supposedly are efforts to coordinate the positions before the meetings of the President of the United States and Russia, which is announced to take place next Friday in Alaska. So when it comes to Ukraine's expectations about that, the general public, the society still remains quite skeptical, because there is zero trust to any Russia goodwill to negotiate and to conclude peace. So anything that is Russia doing at the moment is perceived in Ukraine as the efforts to play and to win time, but not actually a genuine desire to negotiate. So there are quite a big skepticism in Ukraine society about that.
From a more political and diplomatic point of view, do you think that these meetings are enough, or is it just to satisfy Europe, to satisfy Ukraine, but has little effect on the actual shape of the negotiations which are set to take place next Friday?
Well, clarify to me which meeting you're referring to.
So I'm referring to the UK meeting. This is, as you mentioned in my previous question, you mentioned that this was one of the strain of diplomatic meetings leading to that meeting between Putin and Trump set to take place in Alaska. Do you think this meeting taking place in London, where we had Umarov, where we had Yermak joining as well from the Ukrainian side, will actually have a tangible effect on the shape of the negotiations when the Putin and Trump meeting is going to take place?
It's difficult to judge which particular meeting will be like the last straw to achieve the consensus and the resolute position which would equip the President of the United States to be very strong and very decisive in these talks with Putin. Definitely this meeting, one of the crucial among the others that I've just mentioned. And especially it was very useful to have a Vice President of the United States, DG Vance, on that, because apart from the position of Donald Trump, we also see that his team should be aligned with this around this view. And which was important out of this meeting to hear that about this controversial understanding what swap of territories are going to take place and what the sides are discussing. DG Vance referred that we are still making the position around the current contact line, which is very important for us and which is echoes with the position of the European leaders and Ukraine too.
You mentioned the position of the European leaders. We did actually see the statement which was shared. It was a joint statement from European leaders stating, I quote, "The path to peace in Ukraine cannot be decided without Ukraine." And those were the words of the leaders of Britain, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Finland, and European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. Ukraine has the freedom of choice over its own destiny. And yet, in that meeting taking place in London, we have not seen representation from Poland. Why do you think Poland, an important hub for Ukraine, a provider of humanitarian and military aid to Ukraine, seems to be, in a way, on the sidelines of these talks that are currently taking place?
I would disagree a bit with that because Poland is a very crucial country in these talks. And I would refer to the statement on the level of European leaders that just came out in the morning of Sunday, where the Prime Minister of Poland is also signing up to this statement. His absence at this meeting in London might be also the result that probably sometimes it's very difficult to adjust very intense agenda of different top politicians from Europe to be in place. For instance, we were also wondering that at this meeting where Trump briefed some of the European leaders about Witkoff's visit to Russia, France, which one of the countries that is actively promoting and is in forwarder of all these diplomatic efforts from Europe, was not present at this meeting. So I wouldn't consider the fact that Poland was not engaged in these particular consultations as something that Poland is put aside from the general talks, because, as I say, we do in Ukraine see and consider that Poland is a crucial ally in these talks, and definitely we welcomed the presence of the name of your Prime Minister in the current statement of the European leaders.
We also had a piece of information in our services that was posted literally an hour ago. The U.S. administration has expressed interest in agreeing to a position with Europe, a European Commission officials told Reuters. But the European Commission wants solid security guarantees for Ukraine. How do you think this is going to influence the shape of the negotiations between Trump and Putin next week? Do you think that Donald Trump is getting somewhat closer to the stance of Europe and Ukraine, and he is not going to be, in a way, deceived by Vladimir Putin, who is, as you said yourself, clearly playing for time?
It definitely remains to be seen what will happen at these talks. From my position as negotiator, I do see this as part of the bigger talks on peace settlement, because the two leaders, with due respect to the efforts and the leading role of United States, they can decide on European security future, not just Ukraine's security future. So it's definitely whatever will come up as a result of these talks between Trump and Putin, Trump will deliver to European partners, and then they will discuss this together. Because for America, Europe remains indispensable partner, which was clearly also seen as last week when Russia, after these threats from Donald Trump to introduce sanctions on certain countries that are trading with Russia to demotivate them supporting the war, Putin did a very active diplomacy and talks with the leaders of the BRIC groups. And some of the statements we see already that positions are aligning with the position of Russia. For instance, India, they said that in response to this Trump's intention to impose tariffs on India, they are putting on hold their plans to buy military equipment from United States. They terminated the visit of the Minister of Defense to United States and so on. So definitely America shouldn't be acting all alone in that. And European Union and Europe is definitely a very strong ally to the United States on that. This is why I think that these talks between the two presidents, Russians, definitely would be trying to pursue wider agenda. This is why, if you look at the comments from Russian side on the anticipated meeting, they also highlight that it happens in very symbolic place, very close to Arctic, meaning that they have a lot of mutual economic interests to discuss. So Russians would be trying to widen the agenda. So this is why it's very important for Donald Trump to manifest very strong position of the partners willingness for Ukraine to support in this war, and also to encourage Russia actually to consider playing constructively.
Very shortly, we're running out of time, so a very short answer from you. Do you think that right before the meeting taking place in Alaska, Donald Trump is actually going to surprise Putin and invite Zelensky?
It is not excluded. Definitely, we have some of the assessments and some of the internal discussions. The decision hasn't been taken yet.
Thank you so much. Iuliia Osmolovska, Director of Kyiv Office at the GLOBSEC. Thank you so much for joining. And so this would be all for now. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska. This would be all. World News Tonight coming back tomorrow at 8 p.m. So I hope to see you there tomorrow.